Yes, welcome back to the program. Now, it's the last few moments of this news and views segment, and we want to look at what's happening out in the United States of America. The Black Lives Matter protests have been spreading across the country. Uh, Many have been peaceful. The Trump administration has described them as being violent protests. And last night, in fact, the US president threatened to deploy US military assets if the various states in his country don't manage to quell the protests. He, in fact, reported to have said that President Donald Trump has threatened to deploy the US military unless state governors halt violent protests. And this is on Al Jazeera. He said that he was recommending that governors deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers to dominate the streets. If governors fail to take action, Trump said he would deploy the US military and quickly solve the problem for them. And he made this statement in his Rose Gardens, where he said he would mobilize the US military to end lawlessness as police fired tear gas at hundreds of peaceful protesters gathered outside the White House. Now, let's look at some of the other developments that have since taken place. Protesters took a knee in the middle of downtown Washington last night, chanting, "What do we want?" that they have taken over the capital of the United States. The march last night was a peaceful one. As nightfall approached, there were no apparent efforts to get protesters off the streets, even though a 7 p.m. curfew had been imposed. So far now, we have 5,000 people that have been arrested in total, and this is according to a report from the United States. In a town called Nashville, the National Guard had to be deployed as well, and they came out using riot shields there. So, as you can see, spreading to many areas. Protesters in a town called Louisville marched as well on Sunday night, and the DC mayor has made a statement saying police actions ahead of the Trump speech were shameful, and that is a reaction from him. But let's take a look and listen at this. This is an interview that took place on CNN uh, with Christian Amanpour. It's all over the net right now, and she was interviewing a police officer that's at the helm of all of this. And listen to the statement that he made against US President Donald Trump.
President Trump, as we know, has had a conference call with governors, and some of that audio has come out. And in it, he says to governors, he says, "You're weak." He says, "Many of you should be, not showing this weakness. We're laughing stocks. You need to dominate. You need to dominate." I want to ask you not to, if you don't want to, comment on the President of the United States, but is the right direction for police today in this environment to go out and dominate and to show that they're quote unquote not weak? What should the police be doing now to calm this terrible situation?
Let me just say this to the President of the United States on behalf of the police chiefs in this country. Please, if you don't have something constructive to say, keep your mouth shut, because you're putting men and women in their early 20s at risk. It's not about dominating. It's about winning hearts and minds. And let's be clear. We do not want people to confuse kindness with weakness, but we don't want ignorance to ruin what we've got here in Houston. And speaking for my colleagues across the country, where their officers are being injured, community members are being injured, if you don't have something to say, like Forrest Gump, then don't say it, because that's the basic tenets of leadership, and we need leadership now more than ever. And it hurts me to no end, because whether we vote for someone, we don't vote for someone, it's still our president. But it's time to be presidential and not try to be like you're on The Apprentice. This is not Hollywood. This is real life, and real lives are at risk. And I ask the American people to please join with the police, stand together. Let's shift this to where it needs to be, to the voting booth. Pay attention to the hearts and of the people that we elect. And the reason this stuff happens is because too many people right now in this country that are throwing bricks and damaging property never bother to vote. So you have a choice. Lift up your voice, be heard in the voting booth, and continue to march peacefully. So the focus remains on bad policing, criminal policing. And let's be real honest, this is not just about policing. It's about society and this disproportionality of the things going on in our country, from education to health to food to everything that we all as human beings hold near and dear. So please, please don't react to that. If we just hug one another, the only thing that will happen to overcome hate is love. And love and engagement. Let's engage and let's do what we can control, which is our own actions, our own hearts, and exercise without fail our right to vote.
Yes, sentiments there by a member of the United States Police Department, but is that what is needed to correct the American system and the years and years and centuries of oppression that they've dealt not only to black people in the United States of America, but to people all around the world, various countries, the coups that they've engineered and overthrown governments, democratically elected governments, the wars that they've waged in the Middle East, the support to dictators that they have given, all of that needs to be taken into account. And is love the only thing that's going to overcome and bring the American authorities and the American system to justice? We'll discuss more of that in tomorrow's program. From me, Azhar Vadi, wonderful being in your company. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.